All right.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the refreshed RIS seminar.
Yeah, or RISE, because it's rising.
Or RIS, because it's RIS.
Research and Innovation Seminar. Well, yeah, RIS is better. Yeah, I admit that.
So, today the theme will be data democracy. Data democracy needed. And we are presenting new incentives for sharing urban data. Today with us there will be Johanna Ylipuli, who is an Academy Research Fellow from Aalto University, and Veli Airikkala from Forum Helsinki, practitioner specialized in urban data use in real life. And also hopefully joining us will be Professor Jarno Limnell from Aalto University, and
also
Jadla.
Recent city council member.
That's
Jarno,
very true.
Congratulations for Jarno for that. More work. And then Andres Jadla from Rakvere city. Hopefully they will arrive just on time. Practitioner naming comes from the idea that in RIS seminars we try to combine people from university or universities, academic side, and then urban developers wherever they work, and we call them practitioners. As an sort of other side, we try to. The whole idea of Finestmin's project is to get academics and practitioners to discuss with each other to create new projects and create better city in the longer run.
And we hope that we are making a contribution in this field by bridging these two, identifying if there are gaps between research and reality, and hopefully after these sessions these two sides will come closer to each other and hopefully find also synergies in their work rather than getting into conflicts, disagreements and fights over issues that are hopefully important for both parties.
Yeah, so we try to be interactive. But this RIS seminar has a long history already. Well, 1.5 year history. In the beginning we were very academic. There were academic papers presented and short discussions, but now we are more discussive and presentations are shorter, which is of course a pain in the ass for academics, but let's take the as an introduction. So the real content comes through discussions.
So for today, today's session is related to data, particularly urban data. This comes from our survey that we did with Estonian cities, and we tried to collect larger urban challenges that are common between different cities, at least in Estonia, and hopefully also these are wider issues, and particularly the challenges that we have identified previously that we are somehow trying to tackle and address today are the fact that collected urban data is not available or accessible to different user groups as well as it could, and the one that capabilities to collect and use urban data are low, particularly in smaller cities, and more general issues related to collection of data, privacy issues, and usability and value of all this data should be common topics today.
It's good to remind that especially for computer scientists, they always urge to get more data, new data. But actually we live in the conditions that cities are actually collecting more or less automatically a huge amount of data, so it's there. So the question today is that how to understand how people could be more aware of it. Of course, that's personal data question, but also more generally, if I buy milk and bread from grocery store, it's probably quite meaningless for me. but when there are millions of that kind of purchases, it's a huge data set. Well, that's perhaps more like retail chain thing, not city data, but just came to my mind like that.
So currently the trend is that we are trying to collect more and more data, and one of the questions is that is all this data collection necessary? Is it useful? Is it valuable? How does it bring value to the average citizens, to consumers? And then again, the downside of collecting vast amounts of data, how does it affect, what dangers are there in collecting this data? Maybe we should jump to the first presentation.
Perhaps the notion that we are now in Nordic countries, in you know, in summerish Helsinki, like you can see from our outfits. But the city data is totally different thing, let's say in China or in Asian cities versus European versus American versus, well, Latin American. But I think today we will concentrate on our conditions, our sort of Nordic, Northern European. But we will see what our guests are willing to say about these things. All right, we are ahead of schedule. That's not going to happen often. No.
I think we are good with that. So since Johanna, you are already here and very visible to the audience, can we start with your presentation? So first, can you introduce yourself and the research that you've been involved in a couple of words, and then go for your presentation.
So my name is Johanna Ylipulli. Good morning, everyone. And I work at the Aalto University as an academic research fellow. And now I think you will hear this twice, because I already kind of said this in my pre-recorded presentation. But so at the moment I'm leading my own project, which is focusing on digital inequality and smart cities. And I will actually talk a bit more about it in my presentation. So I think this is a long enough introduction to me.
Okay, and now we'll go to the presentation.
Did we present ourselves, by the way, at all? You're Matti and I'm Kalle. Now it's done.
Just in case anyone is wondering. And once our technical team,
which also naturally affects my perspective, which is quite social science at the Aalto University.
Stay tuned. Don't go to fridge or anything. It will come.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Johanna Ylipulli, and I work as an academic research fellow at the Aalto University. And I have my own disciplinary background in social sciences, which also naturally affects my perspective, which is quite social scientific and also maybe even philosophical. And the idea of this presentation is to briefly discuss digital equality and fair use of data in smart cities. The background of this presentation is in my research project that I currently lead, which focuses on smart cities and digital inequality. And it's a 5-year Academy of Finland funded project that started in September 2020 and will continue until 2025. So it's a quite long project and still in its early phases. And the idea of the project in a nutshell is to study digital inequalities in urban areas that embrace digitalization and smart city development. Empirically, I'm focusing on Helsinki and Espoo, and hopefully I will also collect some research data from Barcelona, but so far COVID-19 has prevented me from traveling. Anyhow, in summary, the aim of the project is to understand the phenomenon of digital inequalities and also to find potential solutions in the form of concrete services, principles, concepts or conceptualizations that will be developed during the project. Then a few words about the concept of digital inequality, which is naturally quite central to my project. And background of the term is in the concept of digital divide, which has commonly been used to refer to unequal access to and use of ICTs. But digital divide has been criticized for being too narrow to capture the complexities of today's digital reality. And due to this, I have been using a kind of a multi-level definition of digital inequality, which is based on different theoretical extensions of the concept. And this is a working definition that will also be developed further during my project. But so far I have found this quite useful. So according to this definition, digital inequality refers to individuals' disparities regarding, first of all, ability to access information and digital technology. Secondly, skills, knowledge, and experience of the said technologies. And thirdly, understanding of the role of digital technology in society. And of course, this third level, it's quite deep and quite complex, but I also find it extremely important to take into account. And we also have to note that digital inequality does not just refer to differences between individuals. It also refers to unequal power positions between people and those institutions, states, or corporations that are implementing technologies and collecting and analyzing big data. So actually data and algorithms, or even artificial intelligence, if it's used for processing data, are part of the big picture of digital inequality. As you all probably know, smart city often refers to optimizing cities with ICTs. But highly technologized cities or city districts can also produce several different challenges for digital equality. First of all, we can ask, is everybody capable of using the novel technological solutions? So do they have the skills? Or do they have the devices that act as an interface to those services? Secondly, we can ask that who is responsible for taking care that everybody can access the services and has the needed skills. Third question is that are smart city districts exclusive and only for those who can afford buying an expensive apartment from those areas? So do they, in a sense, increase urban spatial inequalities? Connected to the topic of this event, embedding digital technologies to cities turns cities into huge data fields. Smart cities can provide endless flow of data, as you all probably already know. And this data can be extremely rich. It provides new kind of very detailed information on our movements and activities and communications, our likes and dislikes, basically everything we do. And it can be used to benefit citizens, or it can also be used as a means to limit the freedom of the citizens and a means to control. So finally, we arrive to the fair use of data from the perspective of citizens. And we can argue that citizens have data rights. They have right to know how their personal data is used and also right to forbid the use of their data. For example, the My Data movement has extensively talked about everybody's data rights. However, if we consider this in the light of digital inequalities, we can ask, does everybody understand that they are producing data? And if they don't even know they have data, how they can be aware of data rights? And this is important because data is already used in many processes and it has become a very powerful tool. Being able to collect data and analyze data actually equals power. And data is already used for manipulation and steering people's opinions and actions in different contexts. And therefore, opaque use of data actually hampers democracy. It can result in distorted power relations in society. And opaque use of data can also hamper the trust in authorities that has conventionally been high in Finland, and that has also been a kind of a cornerstone of the Nordic welfare state. So if we wish to support democratic principles, we need transparent data practices. We need to take citizens and urban inhabitants and their rights seriously in the discussions revolving around urban data. But as I already said, if people don't even understand what data is, they cannot manage their own data and they cannot claim their data rights. So actually the fair use of data equals also enhancing people's digital citizenship skills. I think I used my 10 minutes. So thank you for your attention.
All right, I think we could take the Veli Airikkala's presentation directly.
Yeah, let's follow with that. So thank you, Johanna, for this presentation, and let's go to Veli. So Veli, are you ready for your presentation?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I cannot share my screen. Apparently, host disabled participants.
You should be now able to.
How should we do it? Do I send it to maybe?
You should be able to do it now. Try again.
Oh, right. Now it works.
Perfect.
Okay. So here we go. Today I thought about kind of lay out a few things that I have been thinking about in the last few years. Just a few minutes. In what will be the future of technology and people, and especially data, as Johanna put it very well, who owns it, what is done with it, and so forth. The first thing, Internet of Things, the word itself is kind of, I'm quite tired of it, but it means, everybody knows what it means. But lately, in the last few years, it mostly means cameras, for a good reason in a way, because cameras can count and do everything, almost everything, as other sensors could, that don't need optics and so forth. And for now, since legislation is in place and most of the cameras don't film directly. They don't record video, and they are defended as just counting sensors, which they mostly are. But it's quite frightening for me that we install them, and it's just an update away from counting passing cars and categorizing them to kind of filming all the time. Facial recognition technology, as you know, for example, in China, it's very big. In Finland as well, they are planning in some stores, you can just by walking in and walking out, they recognize your face. And it's kind of a subjective thing how to think about it, but I don't think it's only positive. This kind of technology will be used in wrong ways at some point. And just as a reference, how many cameras there are in London, it's one of the most camera-intensive cities in the world, even more than Beijing. In other European cities, it's not that bad, but just kind of to talk about it before it's too late, because when the cameras are installed, it's as many other things. When set up, it's very hard to take away. But there are good things you can do. We have a few projects that have evolved different sensors, do-it-yourself sensors, or even our commercial sensors. And understanding the surroundings is very important especially in very delicate, for example, independent cottages that provide their own energy and manage their own waste. It's very important for their systems to work efficiently, to understand the surroundings, temperature, humidity, and so on. Here's just a few pictures. On the right, there is a decibel sensor and a air quality sensor. The air quality sensor is made in our shop, and it's not the most accurate one. It's very cheap. But that raises a question. It just gives you the trends on air quality, how the trend goes. But could it be? I have a slide later. But could it be useful in scientific research and for scientific purposes as well? Well, it's not. At the moment, you cannot use it because it's not accurate. But could it be something that could validate some assumptions where the margin of error could be bigger? I don't know. But these kind of sensors, they are very cheap and they don't require much energy, so they could be installed very, very quickly, and they are just monitoring air quality, so it's not ethically difficult. Data. This is a project we had. We were interested in how long and in what locations people stay. So we installed 10 Bluetooth seeking devices, and our main interest was how long and where people stay, and we didn't get that, but we got all other things. And this is just a quick photo of numbers, and I won't go into it, but this gives you all of the things except for the one we wanted to know. So it's kind of we have the technology, but always it's sometimes very, very overemphasized that technology can solve everything. It can't. Sometimes it for a number of reasons, it doesn't work how it's supposed to do or how it's expected to do. Here's a layman, very, very layman, very, very kind of I'm a commoner on these themes, but working on projects, it seems, and even in a commercial sphere, in financial sphere, you mentioned blockchain, machine learning, deep learning, and people with the money get excited. Sometimes they don't even know what is the content of the project, but they like names, like they have been instructed that if these words are mentioned, then you can go on. And the pitch is always to find new information. The algorithm and the machine learning will find new things that people won't find, and that is so. But is that in the future a problem? Will human logic be a bottleneck, a hindrance? And with the more exponentially more efficient counting mechanism, do they eventually end up being the decision-making kind of sphere that people just, we don't understand why, but we do whatever the calculation says. That could be, that's kind of a very utopistic, or well, basically dystopistic sci-fi idea, but it's not too far away. So these things, I think, should be talked a lot more. Also, Johanna's presentation was very interesting and talks about things that I'm very interested in as well. But we train algorithms with datasets that are inherently biased in the first place. So is the result of the algorithm, or are the directions we get, are they even more distorted? And the parameters, are they set before, are they set during the process? There are things that I don't know, but researchers, and I hope people in this seminar are more knowledgeable about this than me, and maybe have some answers. But in the ethics side, also, who trains the algorithms? It's not just machines. It's the people that feed photos and and it's been already documented that people in the cheap labor countries, Indonesia, China, many of them don't do clothes anymore, shoes, but they train algorithms in less than ideal, almost slave-like conditions. When I was reading about this, I stumbled upon Vaino, which is a Finnish company, like machine learning training, and they use prisoners, which is kind of weird, but understandable from a commercial perspective. But then again, yeah, they don't get paid, but that's a different question. But these are kind of interesting aspects of this. We tend to think that the era of exploitation is past us, but it's not, and it won't be unless we do something about it. These are kind of the private and the public, the divide. As Johanna said, who owns the data in the city that is made in the cities? Cities collect a lot of data from different places, traffic data, weather data, environmental data, people, how many people are in what places. But in the end, all that data is also collected by private companies, and in a more vast scene, and that's proprietary. With mobile data, you can do all the things you can do with individual sensors, but it's more accurate and the sample size is bigger. So who owns the data? My data was mentioned already. That's a very important thing to think about in the future. But also hardware ownership. We all have phones. We don't own them hardware. Where we cannot open it. We cannot do anything. So even if we have new legislation that says that you have right to your own data, I'm not an engineer, but I think requires some laws on the hardware itself as well, because you can have software, you can have all the operating platforms, but if the hardware is set up in a certain way, it doesn't matter. Here's a photo I stumbled about yesterday, which I think visualizes very well the divide, well, not the divide, but the kind of the friction between public and private. This is public space, which is completely donated to the private sector, which is okay in a way. People like the scooters, it's a convenient way to go around, but it raises a question that now one company owns, I don't know how many, 10 square meters of public space, has commercial benefit from it, collects data, which we don't get. There are a few projects that try to, and we are in talks with scoot companies that maybe we can install some sensors in the scoots and collect important data or interesting data from around the city. But that always needs discussions, kind of sometimes strong arming, and it's always kind of it should be, step one should be kind of, we have clear regulations on this, and it's a new thing, so maybe in a few years we will have. But this kind of situation, this is also in a location in Helsinki where there's the blind people hotspot. I don't remember, this is a place where they live or where they go, but anyway, this is a very big problem for people that are blind. But it raises an interesting question, I think. Who owns the public sphere? Everybody. But then again, now that particular space is owned by the private sector in a public space. I think I went over 5 minutes, but thank you anyway. And well, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Veli and Johanna. I think we have Andres Jadla also online. Could you present yourself shortly, or not so shortly, just as you wish? We have plenty of time.
Connection to Andres might take a few seconds.
We have great studio here, but we are still learning. COVID has made us all film productioners.
Even though we are muted.
Okay.
Andres is still trying to connect to
Okay, well, Andres will
Andres
come
will
along
hopefully
when
get the audio working. But thank you now for Johanna and Veli for your presentations. Hopefully in a minute Andres Jadla will be joining in for the conversation as well. But very interesting presentations and very interesting themes. Thank you both for that.
Yeah. Well, this is obviously nice setting of social concern. I'm also a sociologist as my academic background, social scientist. But so I can understand this concern. Really, of course, in many cases the systems doesn't work actually so well. But of course, when we talk about large systems, this kind of considerations are worth for sure. This e-scooter example in Veli's presentation brings directly to my mind that these are complicated things. That it's for sure it has been relief for city authorities to have this kind of solution where they don't need to, install any racks for these scooters, unlike the Alepa bike. City bikes, it's a huge thing where to install, what's the location and so on. But these are sort of easier solution for city authorities. But then you have this kind of problems that public space is used also in a disturbing way. So Andres from Rakvere city from Estonia, giving city perspective here is online and audio working, I understood.
So Andres, welcome.
Are you there?
Can you hear us and can we hear you?
And can we see you?
Yes, one.
Or
now
both.
we can see
Okay,
you.
life is good.
Okay, right now I'm here. Sorry about this delay, and greetings from Rakvere. This is nice summer day in Rakvere, and but the time is quite busy, and this way the other meeting already finished by Zoom too. It is, even with this nice weather, it's not time to go out, but this like following COVID time, a lot of meetings in the same time. Sorry about that.
Problem we had two good presentations here.
Yes, no worries. We had two good presentations here, and you're perfectly on time for the discussion related to data.
Yeah.
So you represent the city of Rakvere. Can you shortly describe how data is collected in Rakvere and used, and what limitations there are related data or issues that have been discussed within your city?
City of Rakvere, we located in north part of Estonia, and we have not so huge city or big city if you compare the other city. Our inhabitants is only 15,000 people, but we try to be quite innovative and take part the project what is related with smart city and such kind of activities. We in Rakvere, we have built the first nearly zero smart house. This is exactly our city council and city government building. And this is all already like first generation of, let's say, first generation of nearly zero building. And we used first building in Estonia. We in the project phases we used only BIM methodology, and this third floor of this building is the building optimization level A. This means that all this data is automated and in our building we have like passive knowledge, and we have a lot of data basic solutions. This is one example what we doing in the level on such kind of middle-sized cities in Estonia, and of course we are part of many other projects working together with Tallinn Technical University to have such kind of data collection and smart solutions. So we trying to our best. If you compare our budget possibilities and knowledge, Rakvere, we have no university city, but this way we work together with our neighbor cities like Tartu or Tallinn and use sciences from them university. But we have quite strong European network to use this all possibility what the smart cities offer. So it's like first introduction for our side.
All right.
How would you then describe the level of data that is being produced? You discussed the building data, so building monitoring that is producing data from various sources of sensors in the within those buildings, if I understand correctly. But do you feel that you get enough data to, for example, control the energy consumption of these buildings and others, or do you feel that you would like to get more precise data or different type of data related to these buildings?
Of course, we need more data right now. We collect the building data, what is related with energy measuring, and we have a cooperation project with Taltech University, and there's all this data. This is online. We can observe here in Rakvere, and same time observe in Tallinn Technical University, and they can modeling some ideas how we can use them such kind of data if we compare the other building. In Rakvere city, Rakvere, we have like 5 schools and 4 kindergarten, and our idea is how we can use the same modeling as we doing in our main. So most innovative building like smart house, how we can do this in the other buildings. But it's not realized yet, but we have some other great pilot project is the Roglaia kindergarten. This is renovated as most energy efficient kindergarten in Estonia. Looks very very attractive and good and using less energy as many other buildings. But in this building, we are not using not much the observed data as we're using in our main building. So here we see way how we can develop this in future.
All right. Thinking of Johannes and Veli's presentations before, do you also have in Rakvere sort of public traffic cameras or cameras or surveying people walking on streets or pedestrians, surveillance, anything like that, sort of more personal data? Are you collecting that kind of data that might be interesting in this discussion?
Like 10 years ago, we make plan for Rakvere. We are part of the Government of Mayors, European Government of Mayors. We was first signature in 2010 and 2000. Same year, our city council approved our plan, like 6 steps to the smart development of Rakvere. And one of them is transport and public areas. But if we start to develop, we must more efficient in the way of the energy efficiency in the building. And we in Rakvere, we have one of the smallest local authorities by territory, or one of the smallest city if you compare the other regional cities in Estonia. And we have not so much public transport. This mirror where public transport start with one municipality, flow to the city and finish the other municipality. This means that we have not so strong cooperation between these surrounding municipalities to have such kind of camera watching system or following especially in the transport things. But mostly what we have to do is this energy efficiency and buildings monitoring and data what we collected from these areas. In transport case, we have not so strong yet. Sorry about that.
All right. So is this building data? How precise is it per apartment, for example? Or are they residential buildings or are they public buildings? I didn't get. But I'm looking for this personal perspective. That are the apartments that and the system indicates that this family consumes too much energy, things like that.
Or is it in the building level?
Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah.
In case we have in our smart house, this is public building. In this case, we use this data in the building level. But we have some pilot project in the city. We have some apartments who has used as apartments for the elderly people. And in this case, we have built as examples many sensors. You know, if you go to cook something, food, and you forget the heating system on and such kind of. In the apartment level, we have some pilot things for the elderly people, but mainly in city level, we are using building basic data.
All right.
Thank you. Now coming back to maybe Johanna. So Johanna, could you reflect from your perspective the situation of Rakvere that was described here, and maybe identifying some issues related to data that might be active and kind of comparing the city to an average European city, how they are doing and what they should be maybe expecting or looking into.
For highlighting the situation in your city. I don't know, you presented very huge questions and I'm not sure if I can answer all of them. in a short time, but what I would like to kind of highlight or point out is that if you are still in the beginning phases of implementing different kinds of smart city technologies and sensors and such a things, I think it would be very important that you take the citizen perspective into account from the beginning, and try to kind of well, you didn't hear my presentation, which was about citizens having data rights, but I think it's very important when you are kind of starting to implement different kinds of technologies to make sure that they are just from the beginning, and that they are transparent, and that also citizens and urban inhabitants can understand what is going on in the city and what is happening to the personal data that is collected.
Yeah.
That's probably my main point here.
Yeah. I can believe that well, I've seen in Finland many cases where elderly people living in a normal housing company in their own apartment, they're willing to keep their apartments very warm, 25 degrees minimum, and for the perspective for the whole building, it's of course huge cost in the long run, and but this kind of questions might be relevant in the future in Rakvere also, but it's good notion that if the systems are built without thinking citizens or individual residents, it might be hard to change them later on. Probably technically possible, but sort of business-wise and all that. Yeah, Matti.
Yeah, then maybe going to Veli. So, Veli, any thoughts coming to your mind, and how does this sound in respect to your experience with city of Helsinki? Are there any similarities to the situation, or do you think that the town is so much smaller than that the issues are different from Helsinki?
It is different from Helsinki, and most cities are, because Helsinki is there are so many departments, and there are so many different departments that coordinating new things is very work intensive. I think I was thinking the same thing as Jana, that if the developments are on early stages, that's the best phase to think about it in the long run from the citizens' perspective. It came to my mind Estonia with the digital sphere is almost every time the most advanced one. I don't know if it's because of the size or because of willing to do actions, but there is e-citizenship. There is different things. Tallinn has free public transportation, or the kind of potilastietokanta, the system where you store patient information is well done, and it doesn't lead to a system like in Finland where you have 17 different softwares and systems. My data things, the my data principles could be, I think maybe it's easier now in the early stages to implement these ideas, because it requires components, it requires kind of the coding, and so it might be easier in the first to do it now instead of later. So Anna said, but it probably is quite different than from Helsinki, where many things require quite a lot of sitting down and talking.
Maybe I can share some slides to show how our situation is, and I don't know how much time we have right now.
Yeah, we have plenty of time, so that's not a concern. So go ahead, Andres.
Okay. That's how I say we have the concept of smartware or North Tarkvere. If you go to Estonia, and we have here what we try to do, and our smart house located here in the city center here, and here is our central square. And what we're doing right now here, we're using the data or the building data in the buildings. You see my screen, yeah? And what we're doing build up such kind of pilot area where we are changing our street lighting system. And street lighting system, we using the electricity is all the time there. We see like smart lampposts idea that we can use in right now or in the future if we have more power. We use these lampposts with different sensors and measure different things and using different data. But right now we build as pilot area. This is our central area on main street here, and this will look like a concept of the smart area or area. And this we working together with University of Life Science in Estonia to have some urban data collecting pilot project. But this only in the planet phases. But right now is first step was the building here. This is here is the new part of building, and there is old part of building, and this is what we doing in Rakvere. And here you see the Rakvere is the first city in Estonia where all former Soviet times block buildings is renovated, and they are not renovated like data focused smart building, but they have renovated very high level. He see many examples, and here is picture of our city hall, the smart hall. Yeah, you see here the double facade here, and here see always third floor is like full of different sensors, and here we have like pilot apartment when we where we use like future apartment for normal citizen, maybe in future what kind of data they use. And this is picture of our building. This means this is not very new one. This is already 5 years ago we built. This was some first pilot in Estonia, and second nearly zero building is the were super ministerial in Tallinn. Here you see some pictures more about our renovation, and here you see examples how after the renovation is normal resident of a building, they use different energy resources like solar energy, like different heating systems. And we have what we have experienced in Rakvere, we have like block renovation or not only renovated one building, but using many of them. So we have many pieces from smart city, but the data is not so much development data like Anna you say. And this is many aspects what we must calculate, the focus of citizens, so on. Maybe I show some pictures more. Other things is what we're doing with circular economy, with things here. We have a city-owned company who take care about circular economy things, collect waste in the city. We have different waste management to separate collection. We have here new sorting areas, sorting everything, but it's a little other topics like we speak today. What was during very popular was the new clothing containers. This was all the time full, but it's quite new for our city. Maybe not in Finland or Helsinki. This is not maybe not new, but for our city this was quite new. That's using time to preparation for our smart city things here. So, but this was just some slides. The other case, I only comment my things, but first experience in the data collection we have in Pääsikö, our smart house, and together with the universities and special this pilot district, what we are right now working on with the University of Life Science in Estonia. And of course, if you compare with Helsinki, we have not such kind of financial power, not such kind of people or mind or sciences power, but we try to do our best and work together with different universities and become from them the idea we like to be as you know middle-sized city, as pilot city, even in data things there. So from my side, maybe if you have a question or comment, I am happy to discuss with you.
Thank you. Maybe a detailed question related to for example, the streetlights. That do you have results from this? Has it had an impact? So do you have some data on how it has been able to reduce the consumption of electrical energy, for example? Or is it too soon to get these type of numbers?
But right now we have this data we have. This is concentrated in the central level. But if we are very honest, we have maybe not using this way this data if we really could be. This means that in the level of small cities, you have not so much human potential to analyze this data and use them, all these positive things, what you can do from this. And one other thing, what we doing in Rakvere, I am myself being member of European Committee of the Region, and doing rapporteurship about space and space data and how we using. I'm rapporteur from Space Strategy for Europe and Space Program for Europe. And if you compare this, what I'm doing in Europe as member of Committee of the Region, and which level we're using this data, if you see right now the transport data or building data or the other data what we can use from as example from the European space programs like Copernicus and Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, and even if we have in Estonia such kind of possibility, we have in our land department, government land department, we have S-Hub. There are many basic data, but local authorities we are not maybe able to use all this data what we have in the level of the government level, of European level, or this is big potential and big way to go in myself thinking. We trying in our city level do our best and be part of different cooperation project, but here is, like Johanna say, a long way to go.
Yeah, if I can quickly comment and maybe ask a question from Andres. First of all, I have to say that it can sometimes be easier to kind of do different kinds of smart city experiments in small cities, because there are like less stakeholders that you need to negotiate with. And for example, I used to study the city of Oulu in Finland, which is quite small, and they were able to pull off quite interesting technological experiments in the city because of the size of the city, because it was easier to kind of negotiate between the researchers, companies and the city, and to kind of implement different technologies. But my question was about the ownership of the data that the city of Rakvere is collecting through different kinds of infrastructures. That have you discussed that who owns the data? Is it the city itself, or maybe some companies that you are collaborating with?
By Estonian law, if you collect the data, you must have, I don't know how is this in English, but you have registered your own, I can say, body or something. You must register in the city data register your own I don't know the English word. If you register this data to your city name, this is data is owned by the city. But if it is not registered, this is a government register, and you must have then registration there. But this data, what we use in our smart house, this data we own itself, and we share this with universities.
All right. Veli, do you have any comments on that from your perspective? We obviously have a setting here that we talk about Helsinki, which is a bit bigger city, a lot of overlapping authorities, and hard to make decisions, although there would be resources.
A lot of complexity related to how to administer the data and control it, because it's always cross-department.
Yeah, this is correct. Sorry, I disagreed. This is what Johanna and you are already saying. It's better to have pilot project in smaller cities, because we have much easier way to implement and see the result. Our city council is 21 members, and they are very positive and innovative meaning, and you can have some from idea to the results is a short way. But if you take a big city like Helsinki, we have many contacts with Helsinki duty, with Forum Firum and so on. This is the other process, but really, if you have your experience, please tell us.
Thank you. That's good point, and good promotion of piloting with Tarkvere. So thank you for that. But so Veli, any comments or from Johanna?
I had one thing came to my mind when Andres mentioned Copernicus and the European Space Agency as a potential dataset use. We used in one project, we used Copernicus data, and it was quite useful. And I thought that, okay, this satellite data could be very, very interesting in many different urban projects. But the thing that I want to raise up is like the private and public sector kind of this tension. Copernicus data has to be manually worsened. The resolution has to be worsened, since otherwise it is legislatively seen as disrupting the markets. So it's freely downloadable, but it's artificially lowered, the resolution, which I think is kind of, again, an important, interesting thing. We can use the data, but it's not as good as it is.
Yeah, yesterday I'm a member of the Copernicus User Forum in Europe, and yesterday this was, in Europe we have European Space Agency, and the European Commission built their own space agency, and they are right now started this space program, and this is mainly orientated in the final users. But if you check the final users, is this the different targeted stakeholders, this is private companies, they say this main one peak of target group of users are local authorities or regional authorities, like we see in the level of the Finland. You have not only Helsinki, you have all the Uusimaa region there, but my experience as rapporteur and how I say this, all this development in Europe, I can say that I can say Estonian, maybe in the Finnish local authorities are not ready to use this data what we offer, and if Helsinki's have capacity or availability to use this data together with Aalto University or with other universities or Helsinki University, many of the smaller cities, like you say, Oulu, or the other cities, it's not able to do this. Even I think maybe even not in Finland. If is whereas we have like one of the regional city, but if you go to more to province, this is not even not knowledge about that what Copernicus and European Space Program offer. I don't know how in Finland, but big step forward in Estonia, the using data. This was opening of EstHub. This is open data center. That is Estonian land department, and you can go as final users to check this data, to check. But of course, you must have knowledge how to use the program, ESA-SNAP, and the. But I think in Finland, if you look at this program, I see Finland too. I don't know what's that I can do, but if you check the wrapper, I see Helsinki Shore. The program, but I think same you have in this quite huge area what they cover. But here is big potential for local authorities. We trying, when I say many times, we're trying to do our best. We have plans. We have right now we have a new program for next 10 years, climate neutral Rakvere. We have some strategic things we must discuss, and one of them is the how we can use data, how we use data to offer better services for citizens. It's main, not only to be part of one or other project, but this must be we must follow the will of the citizen, what they want, what service is better if we using and analyzing one of the other data. This is important for us.
And yeah. So
Andres, could we continue from that? You mentioned again energy, and in your presentation, energy, building energy was a very important thing, and in smart city discussions, energy is very big thing also in city economy, and building, how buildings are consuming energy. Veli and Johanna, do you have any comments dealing with personal or let's put it this way, that can you see any personal data issues in building energy? Because it sounds nicely sort of impersonal data, like car parking, and actually car parking data is very personal data via license plate. But how do you feel about this energy measurements and all that dealing with buildings? Are there personal data issues from
or
your
is it neutral and kind of safe data to collect and use?
So I can start. I don't know if any data is safe data or neutral data if you start to look at it very closely. And if we are monitoring energy on the apartment level, I think that data at least can be used also for for negative purposes or monitoring people in the wrong way, so to say. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but we always should very carefully consider also the negative sides and kind of what could go wrong, these kind of scenarios when collecting personal data. So of course the aims and goals seem to be very nice and good, but also these negative implications should be considered very carefully.
All right. Veli, yeah.
I could add that I don't remember exactly what was the floor limit, but there's a precedent that if, let's say, there are 4 apartments and you gather energy data from them, it becomes very personal because it is personalifiable. But then there was this building that was energy data was collected from the building, and the building had more than X amount of floors. So it was determined that there are so many apartments that it's not personal anymore. I don't know if this is a legal precedent, but there was this situation a few years ago, and I thought it was interesting that there is because it is personal, but then if there is 300 apartments, then all of a sudden it's not that personal anymore. So there's this kind of gray area.
But if you speak about the data for the energy efficiency or all the buildings, this is like, I want to say, this is very interesting discussions really. What data is personal data, what data is public data? If you like our building, we smart house here in City Council, we have 1,500 square meter, and we are heating this building only with land energy. We have only I think only solution in Estonia, but what is very popular in Finland, we are direct land heating. You have more scale in Finland, but we have in Estonia more wet one. This is not possible, but we in Rakvere are using them, and we collect all this data, how much energy we use. We have in roof, we have solar energies. We can see online how many megawatts, how many energy they produced. I think this is open data for everybody. And we're same in the renovated apartment buildings. The heat of the housing cooperative, they could say all this general data of the building. And of course, they have, if you are centralized heating system, you can see like energy data for every building too. And I can say this is not personal data, but this is using for our energy balance or energy using materials for that. In the energy field, I think we have not much personal data. If we most of them we can use in the public or open pools, and we can. But question is how we can use this data to have better heating balance of the building in the future. We can compare this year and last 2 years to prognose what kind of regulation we need in the future. Like in our case, we have many sensors in the roof and around them, and they connect with the weather station, and they could plan. In our case, they could plan energy balance in the future.
All right. All right.
Of the data, and these informations go to the brain of this central heating system of the building, and they know that tomorrow is coming bad weather, and they already today know that we must have more heat for this day. This is somehow we try use this data, but it's quite unique in Estonia, and this way we're working with them. But of course, we need more capacity to analyze, and right now the data just go. We are not using them, and you know, this is our little problem.
Well, that's interesting. It looks like there's no personal data issues as such, so heavily. But since our sort of theme seems to be here, that's this sort of social concern. Though of course I can see cases in which certain kind of people live in certain kind of buildings or areas, let's say refugees or poor people or whatever social sort of subgroups, and it might be questionable if the results say that they don't care, they use energy more than the average or things like that, especially if city owns the buildings and things like that. So this comes to my mind. But Johanna and Veli, I think we need to stop quite soon, but Johanna, Veli, do you have any comments in this sort of social level thinking?
I have many opinions on these matters, but maybe I don't go there. But well, just a kind of a high up level, no content kind of phrase, that we need to think about those people as well, because they don't have the purchasing power if poor people are in discussion, or they are not interested, and therefore they are under the risk of being exploited because they are not interested. They don't know maybe what is going on. So these kind of things are the basis of kind of a just society. So the data is a new thing. So 2030, 2040, what things look like are basically, they look like what we decide now. But it's a kind of high level thing.
Yeah, of course, this is question of the right. You rise correctly. This is question of the in energy poverty cases of these social groups who really have the maybe some sensitive data. You are correct. This is here. If you go deeper, you have many things like values say what we must calculate. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, and I agree with Veli, and I just would like to briefly say that I think these kind of discussions are very important, because data is so new thing. So we need to discuss that what is personal data and what is public data actually, because we all have some kind of conception, for example, what is private space and what is public space, but about data, I don't think it's that clear yet. So important discussions.
Yeah. If you compare what's development in the world, how legislation is changing, often using our social media or everything, what is the public view data, or we can speak different data if we speak about smart cities. Right now, today we concentrate with energy, but we have many things like you see, transport, lighting, many things. This is quite developing area of research and for the lawyers, I think, too.
Yeah, it's well, Finnish Twins project and the center will be there hopefully forever. So the collaboration with Estonian cities will be there, and this is good sort of little advertisement for this direction. And to me it sounds like well, the general setting that in Estonia things are happening, people are doing things, and in Finland we have perhaps more, I don't know, developed more people, more money, and more consideration. So we are saying that, oh, you should think this and that before do anything. So in the end, things happen in Estonia, and we are discussing about it here in Finland. But this is very fruitful setting we have here.
And very good observation from Andres that it might be much easier to to demonstrate and pilot new things with smaller cities, because the hierarchies and decision-making systems are much less complex than with big cities. So this is a good reminder for maybe all of us, particularly researchers, that looking at the smaller cities instead of bigger ones might make it more efficient also for doing research, even though the sample sizes might be much smaller, but especially for making demonstrations, new pilots, that type of experiments, it might be really useful to include smaller cities along maybe with bigger ones.
Yeah.
I think this Finnish Twins is if you compare the Estonia and Finland, we have like two big cities, it's Helsinki and Tallinn. And the other I think are smaller, but I think in the frame of this project, we must around this. It's not only big cities question. This is one question in the Helsinki and Helsinki area, and one question in Tallinn and Tallinn area. And the other question is the like regional cities like Oulu, like Rakvere, like Twin City, Lappeenranta, or the other things in Finland too. Turku, the other. Of course, they are not so smaller cities like we have, but we must see in the picture and different level. And if you compare the pilot project in the last year 2020, the winner of the smart city pilot project were only two cities in Estonia, Tallinn and Tartu, was bigger. But here we have more level, we have two same question or similar question, and here we must be open all ideas, all experience, even in the level of smaller cities, I think. And thank you for that to have opportunity to speak a little bit about Rakvere. And sorry, this maybe not balanced day. The same day was many meetings already finished, the life cleanest meetings and so on. But we try to do our best in Rakvere and to be part of the Finnish always. Like you say, we hope to this project follow forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we are still learning. Well, I'm research coordinator of the Finnish Twin project, and Matti is innovation leader, and we're constantly thinking how to collaborate with cities and what kind of combinations there should be, and we are still learning.
So I think it's time to start wrapping up this session for today. So thank you very much, Johanna, Veli and Andres, for your presentations and for your comments and contributions to this session. I hope we will be able to continue this discussion later on during this project. There's several years more still of this project. We hope that the community will grow larger and more people will become active in discussion and understanding all the issues, for example, related to data, privacy, etc. For the remaining audience, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yes. I assume you're using it, but subscribe there so that we can reach you also through the YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter. I'm not sure if we can get the hashtag there, so follow us on Twitter as well. Any last words from Johanna and Veli and Andres before we conclude?
Johanna, you start.
Well, thank you for arranging this event. It was really good to discuss with you all. So thank you.
Yes, thank you from my part as well. That's my favorite subjects. Nice to talk about this with people.
Same from my side, but if we say in Estonia, always when discussion starting, we like Nordic people start very carefully, but later if already discussion are hot, we are ready to discuss again, and this I feel during this presentation too. And first of all, a little carefully, but later we go deeper and deeper and find some some problem and solutions and topics to discuss. And here we have huge things and many things to discuss in future too. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And of course, I can speak in Rakvere and more concentrate, but in future. But this time was so arounding, jumping here and there and so on. But thank you for this kind recommendation word, and especially for the leaders in studio on this project.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will conclude now and come back on the next session.
Yeah.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Goodbye.
the weekend.
Hot weather.